Okay, so you'll go to the login for Slack and you can sign in with Google or enter your email. If you do use the same email for another Slack account, it's going to show you which workspace to join. So just make sure that you open up the Sedona Mystical Tours workspace. And the page might also look something like this, so you'll just say launch Slack. And then once you're in your account, if you click on the home page, you'll see the different channels. So from channels or direct messages, you'll see the different channels that you've been added to here. And then any direct messages that have been initiated as well. So for me personally, I like to star the ones that you know that you want to just have in better view for easier access up here at the top for any areas where you have more common conversations. And so, for example, if you go to your channel and click on that, you'll just come up here to the very top name and then you can star that channel. And also control and enable your notifications here. So if you did want to allow that, you might need to just approve it on your browser. You can choose which notifications you receive. So for more options, go to more options here. Either play with the options here or I'll show you another way to control your settings. So if you come over to the left-hand corner and click on your name, open up preferences, get your notifications directly from here, and perhaps set a schedule. So if you have set recurring days off, you can note when you receive those notifications or any sounds, and also how it transfers over from your desktop or as mobile devices as well. If you come over here to messages and media, you can also forward that to your email address if you'd like as well. So you'll know that you have missed messages if you see over here on the right have a number of how many messages to view or to catch up on. So if you click directly on that name or on that channel, it will take you to that thread. It'll show you any new messages to view. So if you click on that, it'll show you which ones have been viewed and which have not. So you can just scroll through which ones have not been viewed. A couple of ways in terms of how you respond to messages and how you send messages. So you can reply directly to one of the messages by hitting reply. So that is where you'll view in the thread. This can sometimes get a little bit confusing, but it can also be really helpful in terms of tracking conversations so that they're all in the same place. And the best way to keep track of the threads is to go up here where it says threads at the very top, and it will take you to those conversations as well as any threads that have not yet been read. So underneath where you'll see new, that's going to show you which threads have not yet been viewed. And then you can click on anything that shows the unread threads and it'll take you directly there to view all of the unread threads. So you'll just want to keep an eye out between the different channels or direct messages or any starred conversations that you have, threads, all of those over here. There's different ways that you can view that, whether it's through direct messages on the left-hand side or activity. Sometimes things can get a little bit lost in there, but you can see how in activity it'll show you the mentions or threads as well. Okay, and so my favorite feature about Slack is that you can either create a post with a text, a video clip, or an audio recording. You can also attach any recent files, upload from your computer, or attach photos for reference as well. You can do that by your desktop or by your phone. You can also include important links as well here. Example, to let us know that you've seen something, you can just add an emoji here pretty easily without even having to reply to the text. So it's just a super easy, quick way to let us know that you've seen a message. Lastly, you can save a message over here by clicking Save Later, and then you'll see that in your Later column. So you can view those saved messages for later here. So starring some of those that are important, for example, the trail updates, you want to save that for later just so that you have that for easy reference. So any resource that's helpful for you to find, you can locate that here. Keep in mind, however, that there is a limited time that you can view these messages on Slack. I believe it's around 30 days or so, which in that case, generally we'll be sending the updates anyway within less than 30 days for anything that you might need to have for reference. But it's always a good idea just to be able to save anything directly to your computer or to your desktop for reference too. Also, if there is something that you're ever looking for, one thing that I really love about Slack is that you can go up to the search bar and, for example, type in trail updates, and it will take you directly to that message as long as it's still available to be able to view. So you can just click on that. Also, one other really neat thing about it too is that if someone had left an audio message, if you type in something that you can remember from that audio message. So for this one, for example, it's one of the clients named Ashley. And so you can actually see in the transcript. So viewing the transcript. So if you were to go view transcript, it's going to give you kind of like space by space for each one. If you were to click directly on this link, that's going to take you to that point directly there in the audio too, which I think is super cool. And lastly, if there is anything that you need to just make note of, for example, from like an audio recording, you can go through and literally just copy and paste this information and make a note to yourself. One thing that I personally really love to do is just make personal notes, like you can use it like a journal or whatever you want to do, but you can come to your own direct messages directly to yourself and send an audio recording, something to remind yourself of. Maybe it's those notes for anything directly. You can paste that directly there. Okay, so just a few other features that I want to run through here quickly. As far as the messages, so we talked about saving for later. You can do reminders to remind yourself about this. If you don't have time to view it, then you'll get a reminder in whatever time frame that you want to customize to set up there. Or for me, I like to just mark it as unread. So that way it will give you that notification for any unread messages to be able to come back to as well. You can also forward messages. So you can either forward that message to yourself or to another person if you need to. Just relay any information. As long as there is that open channel, you should be able to forward that message, and you can add a message or any other notes if you'd like as well. Okay, and so just a couple considerations as far as responding or sending messages. So most helpful if there is a direct message to you or for anything specifically, you can reply directly in the thread there, and that just keeps everything nice and clean. You'll see that if you respond directly in that thread, when you click send, that information is all going to stay together within that one particular thread. Again, this just helps keep everything a little bit more clean and organized, and that way when you are scrolling back through, everything in response to that particular topic stays together in one area. If it is something new of a conversation that you want to start, you can just send a message, and you can either send it directly or you can send it for a custom time. So this is something that I, again, also really love. So if it's at 11:20 at night, like it is right now, you can send that for like the morning time or the next time you know that they'll be on. Again, if they have their alerts on, it shouldn't necessarily matter, but it's just a nice little feature that you can consider as well. If there's something that you need to follow up on, one thing that I like is that you can use the reminders to remind you to follow up with something at a particular time. So, for example, maybe you'll set it in an hour, 30 minutes, or a few days from now, so that you can come back to the conversation later if needed. Later, if you were to mark as complete for something that you have saved, if you go to the completed, that's where you're going to see some of those updates. If you do want to access something that you've already marked complete, that's where it's going to be hidden there. So there are so many fancy things that you can do with Slack. This is just a small peek into everything and a quick overview. But hopefully it gives you a good idea in terms of all the different functionalities that you can use for Slack, and hopefully saving ultimately some time and being able to create a little bit more time for yourself during your days off to have that autonomy to not have to have your phone on, to know that your messages won't come through if you are off. One of the things that I really like about Slack, and that you can send the audio messages instead of replying to emails. There's so many good things about it. So I know that there's a little bit of learning curve in figuring it out, but I hope that you guys really come to enjoy it just as much as I do.